They say you can smell betrayal. I never believed that, until I stepped into my own house and caught a scent I couldn't place. Not perfume, not food. Something colder, like a closed casket. I had just come back from a 7-day business trip. In D.C. Tired? Yeah, but buzzing. Closed a major case, landed 2 new clients. I even brought Lauren a vintage scarf from a Georgetown boutique she used to love. Thought she'd melt. I walked into our home at 6:12 p.m., same time I always do. No one greeted me, not even the dog. That's when I knew something was off. The hallway was too quiet, too staged, like a trap had been laid, and I just tripped. The wire. I pushed open the door to the living room and stopped cold. They were all there. Lauren, sitting stiffly on the edge of the couch, arms crossed. My mother, of all people, beside her, eyes locked on the floor like a child caught stealing. And my sons, Danny and Zach, on the other couch, shoulders tense, avoiding my gaze like I was the substitute teacher who ruined movie day. And then there was Brian. He was standing in the corner, hands in his damn pockets like he belonged there. Brian. My best friend since college. My fishing buddy. The guy who cried with me at my dad's funeral. My son's godfather. Brian. He smiled when he saw me. That smug, rehearsed kind of smile people use when they're trying to sell you a used car. With a bullet hole in the trunk. What the hell is this? I asked. I wasn't yelling yet. Just scanning. Faces. Body language. I felt like a man walking into a surprise party where the surprise is a loaded gun. No one answered. Just silence thick enough to chew. Then Danny, my firstborn, the kid. I used to carry on my shoulders through 6 Flags, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Dad, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. Lauren didn't speak. She didn't move. Zach looked away. Danny went on. Brian's been around a lot while you've been gone. He's been helping us, talking to us, supporting us. Okay, I replied slowly. He's always been around. No, it's different now, he said, voice steady. We trust him more. He listens. He's not always trying to control everything. It took me a second. I blinked. You're comparing me to Brian? Danny didn't flinch. He's more of a father to us now than you are. I stared at him, stunned. You've got to be kidding me. That's when Lauren finally spoke. Cold, measured, like a lawyer in court who already knows. The jury's vote. You've been gone, Nick. Even when you're here, you're not here. We got tired of waiting for you to come back. You mean for my job? That thing that pays for this house? That thing that... It's not about money, she snapped. It's about presence, emotion. You've become a stranger. I looked at my mother. She flinched, but didn't say a word. Did you know about this? I asked her. She didn't lift her head. Mom? Nothing. So that was it. A goddamn ambush. You're replacing me? I asked, incredulous. Like a busted TV? Brian cleared his throat. Nick, shut the fuck up, Brian. He shut up. I looked around. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but all I felt was heat under my skin. A slow, burning wave. Rage, but cold. Calculated. Like steel sliding into place. Danny opened his mouth again. I stopped him with a look. Then turned to Lauren. You're really doing this? I asked. Replacing me with him? You replaced yourself, she said flatly. I stared at her. You never even tried to talk to me. You just sat there and judged. And let him crawl into my life like a parasite. She looked away. Zach finally spoke up. Quiet. We're just tired, Dad. Tired of the tension. Tension? I laughed once, sharp. This isn't tension. This is betrayal. You staged a goddamn intervention. Without the decency to admit it, Brian tried again. We just want peace, Nick. I smiled. That was the moment. That was the exact second everything snapped into place. Peace, I repeated, nodding slowly. Yeah, you want peace. I set the gift bag on the table, still, tied with ribbon, and looked at each of them. One by one, burned their faces into my brain like snapshots from a crime scene. Then I turned and walked toward the door. No one stopped me, not even my mother. As I reached for the handle, I said, "You're going to regret this." Lauren exhaled like she didn't believe me. I stepped outside into the dying light of a suburban evening. The air smelled like smoke from someone's grill. Laughter echoed from the neighbor's yard. Ordinary sounds. Normal life. But something inside me had flipped. They wanted peace. I'd give them war, and it would be biblical. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't scream, didn't threaten, didn't beg. I got in my car, pulled out of the driveway, and drove down the street like I was heading to the grocery store. Calm, unbothered. But inside, I was already pulling wires, flipping switches. They thought I'd walk away. They thought I'd roll over. They forgot who I was. Back at the firm, I walked straight to my office, locked the door, and made 3 phone calls. First, my private banker, Ellie. I told her to freeze all joint accounts, credit lines, investment portfolios, lock them down under emergency fraud, review. She didn't ask why. She knew me too well. Second, my divorce attorney, John Kramer, one of the meanest sons of bitches I've ever met. I told him to initiate proceedings, quietly, no press, no leaks. Third, an old friend from law school, now working deep inside a little-known corner of the FBI. He owed me favors. I was calling them in. I spent the rest of the night drafting a plan. Not just divorce, not just revenge. I wanted obliteration, a clean, surgical extraction of myself from their lives, and the collapse of the world they'd tried to build without me. By morning, it had already started. Lauren opened her banking app at 8:13 a.m. I know because I got the notification. She tried to transfer $400 from our checking to her personal account. Declined. She tried again. Declined. Then she panicked. I could picture it. Her jaw clenched, hair pulled into that lazy bun she always wore when she was stressed, pacing barefoot. Across the kitchen tiles, I got a text from Ellie an hour later. "Your wife's made 6 attempts. We've now triggered fraud protocol. All pending transactions frozen." Beautiful. Meanwhile, Brian had his own surprise waiting. Most of his clients were people I sent him over the years. Small-time contracts, tax advice, side hustle consulting. I pulled every string. I had my secretary draft letters citing conflict of interest and had our PR department issue internal memos discouraging collaboration. Within 24 hours, 3 of Brian's top clients had ghosted him. 2 others pulled out of pending deals. His empire, such as it was, had termite legs, and I was ripping off the roof. By noon, Lauren called me. I didn't answer. She tried again. Then she texted, "Nick, we need to talk, please." I responded, with a single emoji. Cold. That afternoon, my mother called. At first, she didn't say anything, just silence. I almost hung up. Then she said, "I didn't know how far it had gone." I didn't reply. She whispered, "I thought he was just helping her while you were gone." "I didn't know they made their choice," I said. "Now they can live with it." "Nick, don't burn it all down." "I'm not burning anything," I said, voice calm. "I'm just taking back what's mine." Click. Brian called me that night. He left a voicemail, voice all tight and shaky, trying to sound composed. "Nick, listen, I don't know what you think happened, but..." I deleted it before he could finish. 2 days in, the cracks had become chasms. Lauren stormed into my office building, screaming at the front desk to let her up. Security blocked her. My secretary, Monica, bless her ice-blooded heart, called me and asked, "Do you want me to give her something?" "Yes," I said. "Give her the folder." 10 minutes later, Lauren was back in her car, clutching a manila envelope with 3 things inside. The divorce petition, a full breakdown of all frozen assets with itemized control lines, and a note that read, "You built a life without me. Now try living in it." That night, I sat in my condo with a glass of scotch, watching the city lights blink like dying stars. Another text came in. From Zach. "Dad, why are you doing this?" I didn't answer. He followed up. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We were confused. Brian was just there for us when you weren't." And there it was, the illusion. They thought this was about absence. It wasn't. It was about replacement. Lauren showed up at my mother's house next. She begged. She sobbed. "Tell him to stop," she cried. "He's destroying us." My mother just looked at her and said, "You destroyed him first." By the end of the week, Brian's business was hemorrhaging. One of my contacts, an ethics lawyer, called him in for a review. Just a scare tactic, but enough to rattle nerves. Brian went dark on LinkedIn. His business account went offline. Lauren tried to get a loan to cover basic expenses. Denied. Her credit rating had been tied to mine for 20 years. Without access to joint funds, she had nothing. She reached out again. "Please, just unfreeze. The grocery account. I sent her $10 on Venmo, caption, 'Buy salt. You'll need it.'" Sunday morning, I got one more message, this one from Danny. "Dad, you've made your point, please stop." I stared at that message a long time. They still didn't get it. This wasn't about making a point. This was about erasure. They wanted a life without me. Now they had it. No money, no car payments, no tuition, no medical coverage, no protection. I was their anchor, the firewall, the foundation, and I was gone. At 11:42 p.m. that night, I got a final text. From Lauren, 4 words. "You burned it all," I replied. "Not yet." Monday morning came with a voicemail I'll never forget. "Dad." I got kicked out of school. It was Danny. Voice cracking. Panicked. And for the first time in years, not talking like a man trying to impress me, but like a scared kid. They pulled my financial aid. Said the payment bounced. I tried to swipe my card. Declined. I called the bank and they said the joint account is locked. I don't know what to do. He paused, then whispered like someone confessing a crime. "I'm sleeping in my car." I sat there listening in silence, letting the words settle. He had made his choice. They all had. I just took away the cushion that softened the consequences. 10 minutes later, Zach called. Same story. Eviction notice. Roommate kicked him out. His school ID wouldn't scan anymore. Meal plan revoked. Lauren wasn't answering their calls. Of course she wasn't. She had her own storm to weather. The house? Under my name. The Range Rover? Leased under my firm. She was on the verge of losing everything. And now the boys realized. When I disappeared, so did their safety net. They thought I'd break. They thought I'd come rushing back once they hit bottom. But the thing about betrayal, it doesn't wound you, it amputates. Lauren tried again that night. She showed up outside my building, mascara-streaked, hair wild like a ghost of her former self. My doorman called. She says it's an emergency. I said, she's 3 months too late. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed again, a photo from Danny. He was sitting on the floor of some dingy motel. Mattress stained, no sheets, plastic bags for luggage. Caption, "This is where I live now. You happy?" Stared at it. Then I deleted it. The next day, Lauren went to the bank again. I had already prepped the manager. No changes, no exceptions. She cried, pleaded, offered to sell her jewelry as collateral. They said no. She called my mother, begged. "You know what my mother said? He warned you." Wednesday morning, I got an email from Brian's assistant. Just one line. "Brian's been served. Lawsuit, misconduct, breach of ethics." I didn't file it myself, but I nudged the domino, and when it fell, it landed hard. His license was under review. His office, emptied out overnight. He texted, "Me once. What do you want from me?" I didn't answer, because the answer was simple. Oblivion. Lauren finally reached out with a real message. No begging, no blaming, just cold honesty. "You win, Nick. The kids hate me. Brian's gone. We're drowning. I don't even recognize myself anymore. Was this your plan?" I typed back, "No. That was yours. I just finished it." Then came the twist I didn't expect. Danny showed up at my building, not yelling, not accusing, just standing in the lobby with a duffel bag and hollow eyes. My doorman called. "Sir, there's a young man downstairs. Says he's your son. I told him to let him wait. 30 minutes? An hour." Then I went down. He stood when he saw me, shoulders hunched like a beaten dog. "Dad," he began. "I'm sorry." I said nothing. I was stupid. I let her poison me. I thought Brian was something he wasn't. I don't even know why I said those things. You said them because you believed them, I replied. That's what made it easy. He looked down. I don't know what to do, he said. Zach's couch surfing. I'm out of school. I don't have money, a job, nothing. And you came to me for what? I don't know. I guess I hoped you'd still care. I looked him dead in the eyes. You cared when you made me. Leave my own house? He swallowed hard. I was wrong. Yeah, you were. I let him sleep in the lobby that night. I sent him down a blanket. And nothing else. Lauren tried one last thing. She emailed a photo, us, from 19 years ago. She was pregnant with Danny. We were at the lake. I was behind her, arms around her belly, smiling like a man who didn't know what was coming. Under the photo, she wrote, I remember loving you. I remember being safe with you. I don't know where that went. I stared at the screen for a long time, and then I picked up the phone. I called her. She answered on the second ring. She didn't say anything. She just breathed, quietly, waiting. Then I spoke. Lauren, you made a new world. You locked the door, changed the locks, replaced the furniture, threw out the pictures, and now that the roof is caving in, you want me to fix it. I didn't think it would collapse so fast, she whispered. You didn't think it would collapse at all. Silence. I still love you, she said. I closed my eyes. Then love me from a distance. She started crying. I hung up. Final severance came in a white envelope. Lauren received it on a Friday. Inside, the final divorce papers. No alimony, no claim to property, a signed agreement to terminate all communication, and a handwritten note. Closure is a gift. I just gave it to you. That weekend, I moved to a penthouse downtown. Sleek, quiet, clean. No family photos, no echoes of lies, just glass and steel and space to breathe. The city looked different from up here, smaller, less sharp, like something already behind me. Wasn't a husband anymore, not a father, not a friend. I was something new, someone rebuilt from wreckage. Someone who learned the most dangerous thing a man can be, free. They didn't hear from me for weeks. No calls, no emails, no texts, just silence. That's how you kill a ghost. Not by exorcism, but by becoming one. Lauren tried everything. She called my secretary, left notes at my office, even stood across the street one night just staring up at my window like some broken statue. I didn't respond. I had nothing left to say. They'd already spoken their truth. Now they could live in it. Danny sent a letter, a real one, handwritten, pages and pages of guilt, apologies, and a list of everything he finally understood. I didn't open it. I just set it on fire in the kitchen sink and watched the flames eat the paper like it never existed. Zach called from a burner number, left a voicemail. Dad, I miss you. I deleted it. Then came the day Lauren finally made it inside. She waited for me in the lobby again, but this time Monica, my secretary, didn't call. She knew better. Lauren followed someone into the elevator, rode it to the 39th floor, and waited by my office like a ghost in heels. When I walked in, she didn't say a word, just looked at me with hollow red eyes. Her makeup was gone. Her hair was down. She looked tired, older, smaller. 5 minutes, she said quietly. Please. I didn't say no. I didn't say anything. I just walked past her and into my office. She followed, and then she broke. I can't sleep, she whispered. I can't eat. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking I hear your keys in the door. I sat down behind my desk, calm as glass. You were never just my husband, she said. You were the air in the house, the spine of everything. And I let someone convince me that we didn't need you. I looked at her. She flinched under my gaze. I thought you'd get angry, maybe cheat back, slam doors. Instead, you disappeared. You turned us off like a switch. I leaned back, steepled my fingers. She walked closer. I don't want money. I don't want the house. I don't even want forgiveness. I just Her voice cracked. I just want to know if there's anything left. I looked her in the eyes and said, "There's nothing left." She nodded slowly. A tear slipped down her cheek. "I thought you'd scream," she whispered. "No," I said. "Screaming is for people who still care." She closed her eyes. "I didn't cheat on you to hurt you. I cheated because I didn't think you'd notice." I nodded. "And that's why it hurt." The next day, the final documents went through. The divorce was finalized. She got nothing, just her name. The boys were officially over 18. No custody to fight for. No shared obligations, no calls necessary. I changed my number, moved my firm to a different building, even changed gyms. 3 months later, I ran into Brian by accident. Airport lounge. He looked like hell. Hair thinning, suit wrinkled, holding a plastic cup of flat whiskey like it was holy water. He saw me, froze, started walking over. I stood up and walked away. I didn't need closure. I was the closure. People think revenge is loud, explosions, screaming, rage, but real revenge? It's silence. It's watching someone drown in the emptiness they created. It's the sound of their calls not getting answered. It's the dinner table with one chair too many. It's birthdays with no texts. Holidays with no knock on the door. It's waking up one day and realizing the person you pushed away was the only person holding everything up. Last week, I got a message from Monica. She handed me a package, no return address. Inside, a framed photo. That same one, the lake. Lauren pregnant. My arms around her, a sticky note on the back. "I still love you, even if I killed you." I stared at it for a long time. Then I placed it in the shredder. Let it die one last time. These days, I wake up alone, by choice. Floor-to-ceiling windows, clean sheets, espresso machine that hisses like it's alive. I go to work, close cases, mentor younger lawyers, hit the gym, sometimes sit at rooftop bars and watch the world move without me, and I feel good. Not happy, not healed, just clean, like a slate wiped blank. The last thing Lauren ever said to me was over the phone. She called from some unknown number. I answered by accident. She said, "I still think about you every day." I said nothing. She kept talking, voice shaking. "I know you don't want to hear it, but I never stopped loving you, even when I didn't understand how much damage I was doing." Silence. "You were the system," she said. "You didn't just leave the house. You shut the power off," I breathed out, then said, "And now you live in the dark." Click. No dramatic music, no final explosion, just one man walking away, not because he had to, but because he could.